Where is the wise man? Where is the scholar? Where is the philosopher of this age? Get down! Baltimore!
What are they giving?
Everything out of me. They gonna get a Super Bowl out of me. Need that. Need that.
All right, welcome on back to another edition of the Baltimore Beatdown podcast. It is Thursday night, January 20th, 2022. You might be listening to this on Friday, January 21st, 2022. Regardless, my name is Jake Luke. I'm joined on my screen by Spencer Nathaniel Schultz, sporting a fresh haircut, nice little shacket. Just looks like a cozy situation over there.
Quite cozy. I think I've been wearing this one every other day. Nice little Christmas gift, little flannel shacket situation. Little huckberry.com. Highly recommend. Been getting a lot of clothes on there. Probably might have spent a little bit too much money on there through the holiday season. Definitely recommend. I'm comfy, I'm cozy, and I'm ready to get nosy into the NFL world and the Baltimore Ravens world. How are you feeling, buddy?
I'm feeling good. That's a major comes across the TL like every other post is the Huckberry stuff. I've always been very intrigued. I have not dabbled yet, but yeah, I'm doing well myself actually. Got some irons in the fire as far as certain things are concerned that we've been talking about, which are things are going pretty well, and we're very happy. We're very things are really starting to mellow out after what was a difficult football season, which is a little bit of a ridiculous thing to complain about. I understand, but it was definitely draining on me, and I feel like I'm decompressing from that quicker than I certainly was at this time last year or the year before. So it's been a nice couple weeks in the meantime.
Nice little sad boy season into the depths of winter. The sun's starting to elongate into the evening again, post 5 p.m. We've made it to the other side, the growth into that eternal spring and summer, hopefully, where the Baltimore Ravens do cool stuff, we do cool stuff, you do cool stuff, and have fun in the sun, baby. The boys are pale, but we're never going to fail. Yeah, we aren't. And it certainly is. The days are getting longer. I mean, I was driving home today. It was like 5:40 and the sun was still out. I was like, man, this is as McConaughey would say, this is living. So yeah, we're getting there. I mean, we're almost to freaking February at this point. It's January 20th, 2022, which, tying it back into football, always funny when right around this time, the NFL accounts start tweeting out like, oh, this time on this day, 8 years ago, the Seahawks beat the 49ers to go to the Super Bowl. It's like, cool. Well, the divisional round is still like 4 days away. So what are we doing here? Is the pig getting fat? Is the hog going to get slaughtered? Who knows? And a friend of the show, RDT, yes, you can say whatever the hell you want. So yeah, let's try to keep it related to the podcast though. I'm not sure if you get that reference or not, but he and I were going back and forth. Little. I think you should leave talk. So, I think you should leave is out of this world. I'm involved. RDT always ready to clown, down to clown, baby. Love it. But
I don't even want to be around anymore.
No toxicity 2022, baby. We're alive. We're thriving.
Yo, what are you on the wall?
Love it.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah, we're up and running. We're thriving. We're surviving and we're thriving. But I don't know. Like, it's interesting being in this spot because the Ravens have been in the playoffs for the last 3 years. We're not used to this. Frankly, we're used to them not being in the divisional round necessarily. But yeah, if you're listening to this, I apologize, but our friend here is having some real fun with the Ghost Tour sketch references, which is really going to throw me off tonight, but that's okay because this is the adult podcast and we can say whatever the hell we want. So yeah, it's definitely weird going into the divisional round with no skin in the game. Do you have any rooting interest as of this point? I'm liking the Niners a little bit as far as rooting interest. Speaking of Mr. Eric in the comments here, I'm kind of pulling for the Titans big time, which I wouldn't be expecting here coming up against the Bengals. But I just need the Bengals to take a little bit of a dirt nap, and let's have everyone just shut up about them for the time being.
Bengals, played in that tough game. I would love to see the Titans deliver the old shit pumping right there. That would be outstanding to me. I wish I had my Rob Lowe picture ready. I just want some good football, baby. I'm excited. It's nice having a little break here. The Ravens clown themselves out, and now we're able to sit back and relax. I want to see this Bills Chiefs game go absolutely, nuclear. I want to see like a defensive struggle or offensive struggle, defensive show for the first 3 quarters. And I want it to be like that Super Bowl against the 49ers a couple years ago. I want to see the Chiefs and the Bills just have to slug it out in the fourth quarter to find a way to win.
I'm starting to get a little bit of a tingling in my loins that game is going to be a big time letdown. It's getting so hyped up, and I'm very excited for it. Like I love both of those teams and what they bring to the table. But man, something tells me it's just going to be blowout city, and I'm not even sure who it's going to be in favor of, because the Chiefs are not, the Chiefs of old. I mean, they're kind of starting to look like that a little bit, but it's. You go either way, man. The Bills are an absolute wagon, as we've seen through the last couple of weeks and in the playoffs. They've really kind of exercised their Patriots demons. They did so in a big way on Wild Card Weekend. So yeah, excited for that. But I have as Hunter S. Thompson would say, I have a great fear of falling with that game. It just feels like a letdown is imminent. But who knows? It's a really good slate. Divisional round weekend is, in my opinion, the best football weekend on the calendar.
I can't disagree there. The Rams-Packers, I feel like, is going to be – or no, excuse me, it's Rams-Bucks, Packers-49ers, NFC, 2 loaded matchups. Bucks weak right now, injured a little bit. We'll see what happens along their offensive line. Packers getting some heavy hitters back. Titans getting King Henry back. 49ers, Jimmy G, can he get it done when he needs to? It feels like that game is going to go to a crux where Jimmy G has to be good and find a way to win. Aaron Rodgers, coming off a bye, they're healthy as ever, getting guys back, and it's going to be, Aaron Rodgers is going to figure out a way to spread the ball out. 49ers defense has been awesome, but Aaron Rodgers has been even better. So those games to me are very exciting. Those NFC matchups. Cooper Kupp has gone the absolute fuck off in the last couple matchups against the Buccaneers. And I think that Rams team is the perfect cliche, the all-time cliche, peaking at the right time. I think that Rams team has started to kind of click together, get things done, wear down on the Cardinals twice in a row. Get some, or not twice in a row, but get stuff done later in the season a little bit. I think Matthew Stafford's playing some really good football, and I think that he's been shit talked. Quarterback play as a whole, really basically aside from Aaron Rodgers, has not been this super consistent high level affair.
The Matthew Stafford discourse is the most exhausting thing in the world to me. Like, it seems like people having 2 different arguments. You got people on one side that are like, oh my God, this guy's so fucking overrated, he sucks. Oh my God. And then the other side, it's like, oh my God, this guy has so much talent. Like, if only he had just been unlocked at the right time. And I hope it, it's like, guys, he's a good quarterback who's a little volatile. He has some turnovers. He makes some big plays. He's good. Let's just let him be. And, I'm happy for him that he's in a good spot now.
Defense it was a defensive year, I'd say, a little bit more so. I think that offenses weren't having these consistent explosions. There was a couple supernova moments throughout the year, but ultimately I think that the too high world has started to shift back and limit some of these explosive passing offenses. And Stafford still makes really special plays. Last week we saw that no look, freaking like looked off the safety until the absolute last second, lay up 45 yards downfield, hits Van Jefferson right in stride. A little bit of a back-breaking play. And like you said, mega talent, some turnovers there, it's there, but every quarterback, I mean, Joe Burrow, Stafford, Josh, all those guys were in the top 6 of picks thrown this year. There's volatility and turnovers overall, but the Rams just have a nice balanced little machine right now. Feels like the run game has been prospering a good bit. Cam Akers not looking like exactly his old self, but making guys miss. Sony Michel has been able to get things done on the ground for them. Their offensive line is, a serviceable unit, not great, as Jake almost shatters his entire setup.
So there goes my ring light.
Uh-oh. But the Rams are, a solid squad. So I think these are all intriguing matchups. The 49ers physicality jumps off the page. I would say of the 8 teams in the playoffs, I would say the Titans and the 49ers might be the two most physical squads on both sides of the ball in terms of imposing their will. I mean, the Bucs defense hits. So I think there's going to be some really physical, big time hitting matchups. The Rams absolutely dominated the Cardinals at the point of attack on both sides of the ball. In the open field, they were ridiculous. They broke tackles offensively. They forced, ball carriers to have to break through swarms of guys and hit up and down the sideline. So I think that the teams that are remaining, none of them are going to blink. To quote Mike Tomlin, nobody's going to have to cut their eyelids off. I think these teams are all ready to hit, man. I think we're going to see a really physical brand of football. The Packers defense is a little bit of a question mark to me and what they're going to be able to do. Defense that was, without Jair Alexander, without Zadarius Smith, missing some key guys. Devondre Campbell stepped up for them. Their safeties have been really great, and Savage and Amos, but lacking a little bit. So I think physicality is going to be the name of the game. I think Aaron Rodgers is able to get it done against maybe a more physical 49ers team. But that Rams-Bucks game is, to me, a really intriguing matchup. And the Titans-Bengals, man, I mean, the Bengals are flashier, but the Titans hit. The Titans are physical. They are physically dominant defensively. They're able to get home with 4. Jeffrey Simmons and Butler in the interior there are two-man wrecking crew. Landry on the outside. They've been able to make haste all year defensively and limit some really good teams. So I'm excited to see that matchup as well. So I think that this is going to be, like you said, this is the most fun. This is when you have all competent teams remaining. The blinkers are weeded out in the first round. The Raiders, not quite up to snuff, didn't quite have a capacity to put together a complete game against a good team. The Cardinals did nothing but blink. They were Sandra Bullock in whatever the hell that movie on Netflix is called, just blindfolded basically the entire game. So a lot of those teams weeded out. The Steelers weeded out. And now we've got the class of the NFL. We've got the good teams left.
Yeah, and I think as much as Wild Card Weekend was maybe a little bit of a letdown in that regard, I think this sets up really well for the opposite to be the case this weekend. So hopefully it is. I mean, other than whatever the hell Mike McCarthy and Dak and Kellen Moore were doing at the end of that San Francisco loss, which was a pretty good game overall. Man, maybe one of the worst Wild Card weekends I can remember. But, it happens. I think there were a lot of takes going around, and we talked about this a little bit offline about that 7th team and like sort of watering down the product. I don't really agree with that necessarily. I think we're going to need a bigger sample size. I think we just got a little unlucky with some of the wild cards this year. And, just a little unlucky as far as just games being shitty. Sometimes games that shouldn't be competitive really are. But I think things just kind of were pretty straightforward. They were a little stock, as our friend Lars would say.
Yeah, I think it's a little overrated. Everybody was complaining last week. The Cardinals game was a bit of a stinker, but there was like a beauty in the fact that the Cardinals shit the bed so badly. That was the narrative. That was, the taking point. How they just continued to stink and stink and stink. Of course, you want to watch a close, exciting finish or whatever, but that Bengals Raiders game, awesome. The Cowboys 49ers game, awesome. The Steelers come out, scored a defensive touchdown to open the game, hung in there a little bit. Then the Chiefs just continued to absolutely bludgeon them after that. So I had fun watching football last weekend. The Cowboys game, to me, the Cowboys didn't blow the game at the end. They didn't do themselves any favors, but they lost that game. They cost themselves the opportunity to have a miracle happen. And again, banking on a miracle to happen and getting upset when it doesn't happen is not a good idea. Not any fun at all whatsoever. So they committed too many penalties. The defensive holdings on run plays and shit was out of this world. They were undisciplined. Mike McCarthy said he could tell from prayer time pregame that it was not going to go well in a very righteous gemstone way. The prayer circle pregame was off. So that's when he knew. That's when he knew things were awry.
Yeah, there's definitely some righteous gemstone vibes going on around our friends in Big D there. From ownership on down to Mike and his beautiful boy Kellen. What a absolute traveling. Incredible stuff. But yeah, it's
Kellen Gideon Moore.
Yeah, exactly. It's too bad that they crash out like literally every time they make the playoffs. You know how they make the playoffs every other year? It's like they have this great team. It's like, man, this is going to be funny when they collapse, but it happens too early. Like I want to see them get to the championship game. Maybe let's get them to a Super Bowl for the first time in 30 years. Like, come on.
We're Big D supporters here.
We are.
We love Dallas. We love the Jerry Jones isms and schisms and everything in between. So I think that the beauty of it is that they can't win a game. I think that's the beauty.
What does he say? It's I've seen many glory hole in my days, and it's been a lot less glory hole lately. Something to that interesting effect, which, of course, referring to his time as a landman in the oil industry, nothing else that he might have engaged in or partook in his off time as a rich white billionaire.
Certainly nothing after a couple bottles Johnny Walker Bluer had in the traveling bus there. Definitely has not had anything happen.
Oh, yeah. This was shout out to Deuce for bringing this great point up. The stadium being built east to west, apparently because Jerry's wife liked the way that it worked for photography and artwork. That's the thing. And that's funny, actually, because when we had Sean Hubbard on the show, I talked to him about that, like that specific stadium. I was like, is it like kind of crazy getting in there and getting that mega light going? He's like, yeah, it's pretty awesome. But like, I don't know how they play like that, frankly, when they get into that time slot. And Cedric Wilson just gets absolutely just a bus driven over him by that light.
Right.
Yeah, just completely clanks a crucial third down off his hands. And some of the Dallas people I know, like Dave Ruff, we've had on the show, I was listening to his show, and he was like, dude, this is like, it's fucking ridiculous. It's just like another one of those things with this franchise that like only in Dallas, only with the Joneses. It's great.
The show is more important than the dubs. And
really? And it's also for like advertising, apparently, so that they can get better light on their like brand advertising and stuff, like in certain spots in the stadium is part of why they did it. So profits, do they come above winning?
Stonks up, W's down, baby. That's the Dallas way. Troy Aikman ripping into them afterwards and makes a great point about big braining yourself, pretty much just not playing into the fact that, let's make a quick adjustment. CeeDee Lamb's getting crazy off coverage. Why don't we have him run a vertical tree and flip him the ball, isolate him, and just simplify things a little bit. And that's what teams get away from. We've seen the Ravens do that definitely to a degree. Quarterback sneaks against the Titans when they weren't running those, getting away from the QB power, doing some weird stuff, and big branding yourself. So in the playoffs, keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple, stud. Kiss it, baby. And I think that's why the Packers are such a grandiose, beautiful offense right now. It feels like they do keep it simple. They do get the ball in the hands of their playmakers, and they isolate guys. They're good in the run game. And I really want to see this Packers team. I get good vibes from the Packers, and I would like to see this team roll over the fighting Jimmy G's so that we can watch the 49ers fans absolutely melt down. The discourse around when Jimmy G is the winning quarterback of a playoff team is just, I would pay $50 plus a month for Twitter.
Shout out to the guy Stats, who is maybe the biggest Jimmy Garoppolo hater in the entire world. It's always a joy watching 49ers games unfold with him. He is very in favor of Trey Lance, and I got it at a certain point in time of the year, but it's like they turned that thing around pretty well, and they're looking pretty good with old Vinny Chase / Jimmy G there at QB.
Vinny G, baby. And the interesting part to me, I think, is that we hear Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Eli Manning between the Manning cast, Drew Brees calling a game last week. And these Hall of Fame legendary, Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, even when they have Tom Brady, they don't shut up about the run and what to check into at what point in time, and how much of Trey Lance's youth contributing to Jimmy G's probable prosperity being behind Tom Brady and Josh McDaniel's system, where checking into runs is very much prevalent and very much a key to winning, and how pivotal that run game is to Kyle Shanahan and his constitution. I mean, Brandon Ayuk, everyone wants to rip on John Harbaugh for, Tyson Williams not playing due to special teams or whatever. Brandon Ayuk, their first round pick last year, who had like 800 yards and 6 touchdowns last year, was in the doghouse because he wasn't pummeling dudes in the run game.
Yeah, look at that video of Mike McDaniel at that coaching conference talking about, like, you get what you emphasize, and if you're not going to block in the run game, if you're not going to block safeties with proper technique, like, we don't give a shit, and you're not going to, get run on offense. Like, I love that.
And if we're spending time on it, it's important, and the only way that it's important and gets executed is if we're spending time on it. So what is important? Probably Jimmy G's ability to make calls at the line, check, kill plays, check into the right side, running to the left versus running to the right, running strong versus running weak. All those kinds of things are probably very important in Kyle Shanahan's mind. And so John Harbaugh gets absolutely ripped on for it. Shanahan gets absolutely ripped on for it. But at the same time, it feels like Shanahan is, the Azor Azai, the prince, the young prince, leading the rock star revolution of the run game in San Francisco. And it's worked. What Deebo Samuel's doing is amazing. Eli Mitchell, they got a guy running 4.3 that just hits the hole. No cutback about him. just patience and speed and acceleration there. So their group of playmakers is really fun. Their defense hits, like I mentioned. And I think that matchup is just going to be a lot of fun. The wit, the intelligence, the precision of Aaron Rodgers against, that imposing run game and the creativity that they have off of marrying the run in the pass, play action, boot, all that stuff is going to be a really fun match with me. And the X factor is that it's in the fucking frozen tundra of Green Bay. I haven't looked at the weather for that game.
They always have bangers too. You had the Kaepernick game in Candlestick where he was ripping off the long runs. Then I think the very next year they were in Lambeau with Rodgers had the collarbone and they were like 8-7-1, and that was still a really good game. So it's exciting. They had the NFC Championship game a couple years ago, not as good of a game, but
if you had to guess how many degrees it was in Green Bay, Wisconsin right now, what would you say?
7.
It is 1 degree.
1 degree.
1 degree Fahrenheit right now. So Sunday,
man,
that's going to be a low of 2.
You got to move away from there. What are we doing? It's just too cold. It's too cold. It's too cold.
Well, they were born in it. They were raised in it, and heard some good quotes lately from Lee Smith, the longtime Bills run blocking tight end now down in Atlanta, saying you never get used to it, but you adapt quicker the longer you're involved there. And Aaron Rodgers still able to rip in those conditions. That's the beauty of that boy. That's why they love him. So it's going to be freezing for the NorCal kids. And, it's not like NorCal is some hot, sweaty paradise in terms of weather necessarily, but certainly ain't the frozen tundra of Green Bay. It's going to be -9 tonight. It'll be a low of 2 on Sunday, according to the oldweather.com. Wind, pretty calm. So it's just going to be that stagnant, dry cold. And I believe that game kicks off at 3:30. So it's going to be a frigid one there. 8:15, pardon me, Saturday night. So it's going to be 1 metric ton of a shit show, -1 on Saturday night. Woo! I'm excited for that one. I'm putting some money on the pack there, but ultimately I'm pumped up for that game most, I think.
I might have to head back down to that sports book. I was there with the boys a couple weeks ago. We were watching week 18 in there in Maryland Live. So got to get back down there and maybe get some action going. It's tough though. It's really crowded in there.
It is an absolute madhouse in there most of the time.
It's a scene, man.
It is. So with that, divisional round, we're excited. And I guess we can get into this mailbag, this kind of postseason divisional round mailbag, and cut it up and dive into some listener questions, have a little discourse, have a little silly time, and get ourselves out of here.
100%. So I guess I can start with the Twitter questions. Let me pull it up here, and I will try to be judicious.
Of course.
I meant to go through them earlier, but I didn't find the time. I was kind of scrambling around. First one comes from Aiden Lake. How does George Karlaftis fit in the Ravens defense? Yes, he's projected to be top 12 right now, but I don't believe he will go that high. I think 14 is a realistic possibility, and I like his potential rushing from both the 2-point and the 3-point stances. So I'm gonna get out ahead of this right now. I've really only watched offensive line so far. So there's a couple corner questions. You got some defensive line. I've watched a little bit of those guys just through osmosis, but what do you think of this guy, this gentleman?
Yeah, I think he figures out ways to win. I think he had the second highest pass rush win rate in the Big Ten, wedged right between our boy Aiden Hutchinson and our other boy Arnold Ebiketie, who is a Penn State Temple tough transfer, who definitely is also another guy to look for in terms of the Ravens needing to fill out that edge department a little bit. But he has excellent hands, natural feel, the effort's there. He's got enough athleticism, it feels like. We'll see how he tests. We'll see the measurements there and all that good stuff. But he absolutely abused Iowa, and he just has that nice feel for the three-way go and angling, body positioning, cheating himself a little bit. Snap anticipation is a big part of his game. I think, if Karlaftis is there, I think that might be a BPA. And the Ravens with Tybo going out and the Achilles, which hopefully is I did a good bit of reading on Cam Akers' situation and how they've kind of changed the procedure for the Achilles and made it less invasive and added something called a bridge to it. I could get into discourse on that maybe another time, but the Ravens are in a spot where, him, Trayvon Walker, maybe Karlaftis probably more polished right now. He's getting the comps. He's a little bit more low on the melanin. So we're going to go with the Ryan Kerrigan comp. It feels like from the mock Twitter world. I think that he does a good job. It kind of reminds me of a little quicker, AJ Epinesa a little bit. The Samoan boy, the Polynesian boy who's up in Buffalo. I think he's got a little bit more twitchiness to him, a little bit more ability to bend. Really aggressive, really precise. Wins at the point of attack with his hand usage. He loves the swipes. I think he does a good job angling, like I said. So Karlaftis still need to dig a little bit deeper into his tape, see how he is a run defender, but fits the profile more of a rush, obviously, than a Sam. So I think you would have probably two pretty sturdy run defenders between Odafe Owe and Karlaftis. We got Tybo hopefully coming back. That makes it so that you don't need to rush him along at all. And, a rookie there, maybe doesn't pan out that well, but there's going to be an able, fresh body there that you're going to want to put on the field. So if Bowser takes a little bit longer, interesting. And yeah, I mean, between these edges, Thibodeau, Hutchinson, Trayvon Walker getting a lot of buzz. See Mike Renner and Dane Brugler both mock him to the Ravens. Karlaftis is a guy that could slide a little bit. I think that wouldn't be crazy if there's one, maybe two quarterbacks taken, two, maybe three corners taken. All of a sudden Karlaftis is there. So I don't think that's a crazy weird situation. David Ajabo, another guy that is going to get linked to the Ravens quite a bit. So I'm not done with Karlaftis. Definitely like the polish there at this point. I think he's very pro ready. Got to dig into it a little bit. We'll see what those numbers look like at the combine. There's some thresholds that tend to lend themselves. He's got tons of production. So if he's got great tape, great measurables, great athleticism, then why not make him the pick at 14? That's a BPA.
100%. Cyberbullying NFT collectors is fun and cool, and I think this is Ben Rose. He changes his display name like once every 2 weeks to something interesting. Is Travis Jones from UConn a realistic possibility in round 2? And then he says Booth, McDuffie, or Sauce. So you got I think a defensive line question there, and then a corner preference.
Yeah, Travis Jones has probably the most juice as a pass rusher of anyone in the interior. He is at UConn playing a little lower level football, but beating the crap out of guys. They played against Clemson, and he's got that pass rush upside. You see maybe a little Christian Barmore to his game. I think you can move him around, but he's got the size, he's got the athleticism. He stays very square in the run game. And Jones, not crazy to see him maybe in the first round. Not crazy to see him high in the second round, top 40, top 50, especially in a thin interior defensive line class. I think that he might be the most polished pass rusher aside from maybe Devontae Wyatt. But he's that one technique, that nose tackle that really can just toss guys, beat guys with a little bit of quickness and power. So I think that in the second round, Travis Jones might be a definite steal there. And what was the second part? Cornerbacks between Sauce, Booth, and who's the third?
OJ McDuffie.
McDuffie, I have not gotten to yet. Sauce Gardner, I've only watched one game of 2021. I think I've watched like 3 of 2020 and 2 of 2019. Sauce is a tough evaluation for me. And I would say the things that stand out the most to me are his, not physicality necessarily, but aggression.
OJ McDuffie, that's the former running back, was he?
Yeah, Trent McDuffie is who you're talking about. But yeah, Sauce, tons of length, very wiry, to quote the replacements. But I was expecting him to be this like hitter and a little bit more proactively, fluid in his back pedal initially. It's a tough evaluation for me because it feels like he really wants to bait a lot of throws, and he does a good job in zone of being able to do that. Underneath zones when he's kind of a lot of too high at Cincinnati. So being able to kind of bait those level 2 throws, those honey hole throws, has prolific length, has really great urgency, and is able to get to the catch point a lot of the time. So I think those are the things that stand out the most. I think you can absolutely take him in man coverage underneath right now, high level, NFL receivers. I think there's a lot of growth needed there in terms of his balance, in terms of his footwork, in terms of, a little bit more patience in terms of when to open his hips and some underneath stuff. But the recovery is unbelievable. But my question as of now, not having enough tape, is that recovery going to be able to translate quickly to the NFL, or is it going to be, bigger, stronger, faster, better, smarter receivers at the National Football League level that are able to take advantage of him? I went and watched the Alabama game. That's the only game of 2021 I've seen for him. I think there was a narrative that he shut down Jamison Williams. Not a lot of reps were on Jamison Williams. I want to say maybe 25% of them were. Williams was moved around. He was in the slot. He was at the Z. It feels like they kept him away from Sauce maybe a little bit, but weren't a ton of reps there. He had a nice tackle for loss in the backfield. He's very handsy, very grabby. I think that's a good thing. Will incur some penalties, but I think that's a good thing. He's disruptive at the stem. He wants to irritate you at the stem and prevent you from fluidly moving. So I love that aggression there. McDuffie, like I said, I haven't watched, but Booth to me is borderline prototype. Maybe not quite the tallest guy in the world, maybe a hair shorter, like literally like a head of hair shorter than Marlon Humphrey just about. But his balance, his feet, his ability to recover, the patience that he has to open his hips as a result of how much kind of core strength balance and how precise his footwork is crazy. Double moves, he will do a wide step, but will keep his hips square. So when someone crosses face on a double move, his hips haven't opened yet, and he can just flip them, man. Hitter, super aggressive, super physical, misses some tackles here and there as a result, but wants to blow it up. He blows up blockers. He's a very, very physical tackler. Ball skills, insane. Levitates in the air. Prolific catch, like highlight reel, web gem, top 10 catches. Hands, he's a 5-star. He was all ACC academic. Apparently high work ethic, high caliber person, high character. The Ravens aren't a huge Clemson school necessarily, but I see a lot of similarities to Marlon Humphrey there. Maybe not quite as physically strong, but much better ball skills. So I think he would be excellent. I think that there's some slot ability there. I think that if you bring in Booth, that you have, if the situation pans out that you have Peters, you have Humphrey, and you have Booth, you can mix in Humphrey playing some slot, where he's actually been playing better in the slot, I would say, to some degree than outside. The last couple of years, he's been really good in the slot. And there's that slot corners aren't worth as much. You got $100 million slot corner. Sure, but if you got two other guys, put the three best out there. Humphrey's the best in the slot there, the physicality, the ability to play in the run, to fit in the run, and be that star type Jalen Ramsey player. Look what the Rams are doing, and they're getting all this credit for it. So I think there's some real possibility there. And then Peters, who knows what happens with his ACL. But Booth, to me, of those guys, is number one. Stingley has some really rare traits in his back pedal and how clean it is and the angles that he takes. But Booth, to me, I haven't gotten into a ton of Stingley tape yet. There's not a ton from this past year. He's had some injury problems, which is, always going to raise the questions that we're never going to be able to answer as non-medical people. But Booth, man, might be my number one corner in this draft. And I would be remiss to think that there's not a strong possibility that he's taken in the top 10 or before 14. So Booth to me is that dude. And I still need to watch McDuffie and some others for sure. But Kyer Elam, I still need to watch. I've watched some McCreary. I'm not quite as high on him. But Booth to me is that guy.
Yeah, Stingley is the one that I've dove deep into. I think he might be gone before they pick. I just think total dog tendencies. But yeah, the lack of tape is going to be tough to overcome. But I don't know. Could be similar to a Jamar Chase situation. So who knows? Poppin' Perks. Should the Ravens go all in on building a bully of an O-line to attempt to get back to 2019-20 season run dominance, or continue making passing improvements the focal point? So I think this question is, no offense, Poppin' Perks, but I think the premise is maybe a little bit flawed, because I think the passing improvements are kind of, as we've been hinting at, or not even really hinting at, as we've been, I think, driving home. I think they're already there. Like, you go all in on fixing this wide receiving core. You do have to fix the offensive line and get better in pass pro and get yourself to a place where Lamar is more protected and able to make these throws to this improved receiving core. But I think it's there, and I would prefer them going, as I've hinted at, heading into this offseason, I'd prefer them go all in on O-line. I think it's time to get your guy all the protection that he needs, whether he gets paid this offseason or next or whatever the plan is. You got to set him up for success, and that starts with building the wall up front, as we've hinted at.
Yeah, I think that's the consensus. I think that's what they're going to do. You look at what the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes, where they fell short, and where the Ravens have fallen short. The Chiefs have a better system in place. Andy Reid, a top 3 offensive mind in the world, probably. So of course, hate Greg Roman all you want, but Andy Reid is the best of the best. So it's not going to get better than Andy Reid. And for them to go out and trade for Orlando Brown, pay record-setting money to Joe Thuney, to draft Creed Humphrey, who we got a Linderbaum comment. We'll get into that, but to go get, the best center that I've seen in the last couple of years, and many people have, Trey Smith, it's just the sidebar. The Chiefs, of course, Trey Smith didn't have a good Senior Bowl, medical problems, and of course, best rookie guard in the NFL, 6th round pick, I believe, knocked it out of the park. So, there's a little bit of fucking luck involved there. You can say that you were really high on Tom Brady all you want, but every team passed on him all the way through. The medical reasons were huge, but he really struggled at the Senior Bowl a lot, at tackle and at guard a lot. Really, really struggled in his pass sets. So they got him right, knocked it out of the park. Their right tackle situation now is fluid, and they'll probably be able to bring someone else in if they want to. But look at what they did. This tackle class is thick, deep, loaded. Left tackles, right tackles, all of it. Vanilla, chocolate, ice cream. Sundaes, bananas, cherries on top, bells, whistles, bicycles. Wow. All of it, man. This tackle class is the deepest. In my opinion, in the early watches I've done, I've focused a lot there, very much so, and looks like it's the best class in quite some time. Between the depth there as well. There's the guys at the top. Maybe the Ravens can't sniff a Neal or a Cross or an Aquanu. Maybe one of those guys falls, but after that, Penning, Falele, Kennard, all these dudes. The dude Kerlander out of Arizona State, which sounds like a made up name in a sketch comedy about a fraternity, but a Deesh, I think it is, Kerlander. He's very clean. Watch the game of his. Very clean, precise. Probably gonna be a 2nd or 3rd round guy in this class. So the opportunity, the supply, the demand, the need are all meeting right now, and the Ravens are going to have to dip there. I think you need a veteran, sure. I think Villanueva is gone. James, to me, is just a lottery ticket that you can cut and save $3 million, which is probably more appealing if he's not looking, serviceable there. Then, of course, there is the question at center of Bradley Bozeman. And at this point, they signed McCary. They don't reach an extension with Bozeman. We're hearing whispers that he wants, guard money instead of center money and this, that, and the other. And, you'd love to have maybe extended him early and moved him to center like last year. Apparently he was asking for a lot last year already. So that complicates things and leads you to look at Linderbaum. There's a couple other centers, Donovan West out of Arizona State as well, some other guys, whatever. But no more excuses with the offensive line. It's been years. It's been, 2 years straight of not establishing an offensive line that you can rely on. And we've watched back-to-back seasons, Lamar have really high moments as a passer early in the season. The offensive line crumbles. And then you watch him drop his eyes, lose his feel, lose his reads, get bad and miss opportunities, make mistakes as a result. The pressure is getting to him. And it's time, man. It's time to dedicate your resources to that. Defensively, you can probably find some good value free agents, throw a rookie or two there that maybe can come play. The scheme, whatever you want to call it, feels like the Jims and the Joes versus the X's and the O's. The Ravens defense, to me, what they did in the second half was very impressive, aside from, save one Bengals game, with a really limited roster. So at this point, build up that damn offensive line, find some cheapish veterans to plug into the defense, make sure you can do whatever you can to do a Ted Lasso freaking voodoo curse at M&T Bank Stadium of just the DBs in the corners. Hopefully you can get some better injury luck there and rock and roll. You need to build a high-powered offense at this point and see what you can do with a complete offense to get a true, tried, and honest evaluation of a guy that you want to pay in Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. And it's all about setting him up for success. I mean, that's you're talking about your future right there, and you want to be feeling 100% good about it. And I pretty much already do feel good about giving him all that money. But even if you do, even if the plan is to lock him up for the long term, I look around the league and I see these other young quarterbacks that are set up 100% for success, one of whom was in his draft class. And I see what the Bills have done with Allen, and it's like, well, it's not necessarily so easy to say, oh, do exactly what they did, but they got him Stephon Diggs, shit-kicking offensive line, and some of these other underrated weapons, Dawson Knox, they're just finding these guys that fit with him really well, and they've just built the perfect system around him. So I'm not saying go out and do exactly that, but that's just where the league is trending these days. It's like it's hard to win with defense, and especially when you do have a young quarterback like that, why not just build around him? Try it. It was the whole reason Steve Bisciotti was ready to move on from Joe Flacco. Why not build a fun, young offensive team that's not only going to sell tickets, but is going to win football games, and it's going to let us have success in the 2020s. And so it's worked thus far up to a point, but hit a little bit of a breaking point with the injuries this year. So set him up for success. Dan Abe's house says, early predictions for the big/semi-big free agency signing. Chandler Jones is kind of one that I'm looking at a little bit.
I feel like the Ravens have sniffed around Chandler Jones. That's an interesting one. Third, fourth contract guy. Feels like he's going to be able to play some football in Baltimore that is on a team that prides itself. They need leadership defensively. They need that cultural boost, it feels like, and there might be a little lack of accountability on that side of the ball. It just feels like there's not that same fire that there has been.
I mean, like he's a little up and down. He's a little volatile, but like he brings it in that department. And we got another question about that coming up too. So
certainly. And so, looking at a Bobby Wagner, who is a potential cut for the Seahawks. Pete Carroll saying Cody Barton and Jordan Brooks are the guys of the future. So you can have Bobby Wagner come play that kind of Josh Bynes, a little bit more Mike role, and coming off the field a bit and blitzing and having that commanding presence in the back end. Safety situation. I mean, Earl Thomas scorned them. I think a lot of people are going to look at these big name free agents. Marcus Williams. I don't think Jesse Bates is going anywhere. The Bengals have money. It feels like it was a kind of a let's get through with this season. Maybe put it on the back burner, come together, see how you played at the end of the year. Franchise tag potentially in play as well. But there's quite a few free agent safeties on the market. I think that's somewhere you certainly look. Those would be the ones that I really think of, man. Offensive line wise, I'm not sure entirely what's out there. Center position's a little weird. Ryan Jensen. To me, Ryan Jensen's if Tom Brady's coming back, I don't think Ryan Jensen's going anywhere. It feels like, they're bonded. He's been just absolutely sloshing that baby powder for Tom Brady, double talent up the butt. So that's his boy there. But a couple options floating around. Brian Allen of the Rams, some other ones, some older ones. So strange there, tackle situation. We'll see what happens. Zeitler obviously ended up being a really great signing, and per Sports Info Solutions metrics I was looking at last night, number one, played the most snaps of any lineman in the NFL. Number two was actually Villanueva. So ended up with the third highest points earned in the NFL among all linemen. And that's kind of like EPA, considering what everyone else did on the play and what the play was. Fifth in points above average. So how much better did he play than the median player, the 50th percentile player? Fifth out of all linemen in the NFL. Over the Cap actually also does a valuation on players yearly and assigns a dollar value to it. And they do that as a composite or an aggregate of PFF grades, snaps played, which obviously Zeitler is going to weigh heavily there, considering he was number one in the NFL. And then just metrics. That's going to be like sacks, pressure, stuff like that. Just baseline statistics that they find. They basically say, guys get paid a lot more who have sacks in free agency, so they're worth more in the eyes of the NFL. So Zeitler, $12 million valuation on a $4 million cap hit there. So maybe there's a situation like that cut situation, a veteran player who's kind of been casted aside on a bad team and you're able to go snag one. But the Ravens just they can't rely on fate this year. They have to grab the offensive line by the horns.
Hope is not a strategy. So let's get some real strategy in there. Kind of speaking of which, Cody says, is pressure rate being overvalued by the Ravens schematically? Should there be more of an attempt to get sacks as often as possible? It's not in their DNA or what they try to do, but they were number one versus the run, and it didn't mean shit.
That's a lie that it didn't mean shit, that they were.
I wouldn't say it didn't mean shit.
I mean, the Rams, the Packers, they shut down, they shut down Jonathan Taylor. They won that game. They I hate to be the guy that says they let up a big run again. I mean, the Vikings had every right to absolutely shit pump them, did in the first half, and buckled down, strapped down. They bottled up some really good rushing attacks, and I think that kept them in a lot of games. So I think that's bullshit. They were able to make teams one-dimensional. Teams stopped trying to run the ball. Is that maybe because their pass defense sucked? Yeah, but their red zone defense was fine. Their third down defense was fine most of the year. They were thin late, but this is what I don't. In terms of the pressure sack, what is the plan to get more sacks? What does that mean versus pressure? The thinking is that pressure is more consistent than sacks. Matt Judon had the exact same amount of pressures for the Patriots as he did for the Ravens. He was 2 away. He had 2 more in 2019. Judon had 25 quarterback hits and 9.5 sacks this year. And PFF charted him with 12 sacks. He has, I think, 14.5 is what the NFL gave him. So, he had 12 quarterback hits. It's a split second. Pressure is more consistent. Brandon Staley, defensive mind, didn't have the personnel this year, but got that job because of what he knows defensively. Pressure is more consistent than sacks. Pressure is more consistent than sacks. There's a couple guys that have that unique ability to finish. TJ Watt, a much bigger sack guy than pressure guy. It feels like because TJ Watt closes out really well and he wins in like the third and fourth second every time, as opposed to the between the first and second. So he's kind of a slow burner more so with higher sack production. He finishes really well. So they just haven't had the guy that finishes.
Automatically, they're not trying to not get sacks with their scheme. They have not had the alpha dog that is going to be able to finish, to your point. Like, you look around the league, like watching Nick Bosa against the Cowboys, like that guy can fucking get sacks. You know why? Because he's super talented, super physical. He's just an absolute beast. Like TJ Watt, same thing. Some guys are like that, and maybe that'll be like an OA next year. But you lose it in Suggs, after 2018, and since then it's kind of been. And
you lose it, Darius Smith.
Here, it's been this person there, and they haven't been able to hit on it. They haven't really invested in it in free agency a ton, and that's where you settle on a Justin Houston, who's great, especially for his age, but he's not going to be a guy that's going to go out there and get you 15 sacks at this point in his career. They just haven't found the alpha dog quite yet, and maybe they will at some point soon, but I don't think we need to look at Wink and say oh, well, Wink's got to do more. He's got to change his scheme. I don't necessarily think that's it. I think a lot of this, and it's not to throw too much heat on EDC or anything, but it is kind of a little bit of a building thing. And he hasn't, to be fair, he probably hasn't even really had the opportunity to go get these guys because they're hard to find. Like TJ Watt falling to where he did and falling to a perfect situation, for one thing, it doesn't really happen very often. So it's tough.
It is. It certainly is. There's just a lot of volatility to it, and Justin Matabika, I know we have a question that we'll get to, so we'll kind of glaze over that one. It's in the Instagram mailbag, but looks like he just lacks. He's really great against the run, generates pressure, but lacks the feel for when to disengage and where the quarterback is and being conscientious of that. But all right, Joshua Richter in the comments here. Last time sacks were a priority for the Ravens was 2014. Think of that defense. They got Elvis Dumervil, an all-pro pass rusher who set the sack record, and Terrell Suggs paired up. I mean, that's, a borderline Hall of Fame guy and a Hall of Fame guy in Suggs and Dumervil. So they don't have an all-pro pass rusher. And their defensive interior they've been working on. 2018, it was Pierce, and in 2019, it was Pierce and Williams and Wormley, who are not, guys that have a high pass rush win rate, not guys that convert a ton of sacks, not guys that are doing a ton of these things. And the Ravens, like you said, build back to front.
So the 2014 thing, they signed Elvis Dumervil in 2013, and he had 9.5 sacks. And then he just kind of found it in 2014. And maybe that was a schematic thing, but it was like him and Suggs. They were just kind of doing their thing together. And he had, almost 10 more sacks the very next year. So it's like
Aaron Donald had a 10 sack season and then a 20 sack season and then a 10 sack season in a 3-year period.
Yeah, they prioritized it in 2013 by signing Dumervil, and it worked out to an extent. He got 9.5 sacks, which is very good. But people look back on 2014, it's not a priority thing. It's just that Elvis Dumervil played really well and got more sacks. So let's get these players kind of.
I mean, they do want to get free rushers. They want to get DBs involved. They want to get the linebackers involved. They like to play games, all of these things. But at the end of the day, I mean, the guys aren't finishing. How many quarterbacks got? Baker Mayfield is always in chaos when the Ravens play him.
And it's harder to finish now than it was in 2014, because in 2014, you didn't have fucking Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen running around. He had a couple guys like that, maybe, but not even nearly to that level, I don't think. So it's a different league. Guys are more elusive. They escape a lot easier, and other teams definitely do get a lot of sacks. So it's not 100% an excuse or anything. It's just maybe a little bit of an explanation for why it's not as easy to predict these days.
Yeah, for some reason, I mean, the Steelers just always are unbelievable. They get 50 sacks every single season, but the difference between the number 2 team in the NFL in sacks per game in 2021, the Minnesota Vikings, is they average 3 sacks a game. The Ravens average 2 sacks a game, and we're 21st. So it's 1 sack a game. It sounds like a lot when you look at the totals. It's 1 sack a game. Calais Campbell, sack numbers went down. I mean, they blitz more. Typically, quarterbacks get the ball out quicker, and that was kind of the intention, is to force quarterbacks to be one read and to get the ball out, because you had Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters, they had Earl Thomas at the time when they were aligning this defense, and then they had Chuck Clark, who's a really good box safety, Tavon Young, a really good slot corner. So they're like, all right, we have a great 5 on the back end. Let's blitz, let's invest money there and force guys to get the ball out in one read into this all-pro caliber defense. And it worked really well. 2019, 2018, I think they were first or second in the NFL in sacks. Everyone goes to that Titans game, but they had Judon, they had Smith, they had Suggs. They ended up 26 sacks, I think, between the 3 of those guys. A shitload of sacks between those 3. So quarterbacks know you got to get the ball out a little quicker, and they wanted to make him throw at those corners. And when you don't have the corners, and that's your construction, it goes awry. The same way if you invest in a pass rusher, and say there is that opportunity to trade for or go get that A-list pass rusher like a Joey Bosa or something, and he gets hurt, then what? Where's your pass rush go? It's the same situation. It's 2 sides of the same coin. So I mean, sacks, everybody's sack. Pressure is more consistent. You hear everyone in the NFL, pressure is more consistent. So that's the thinking there. What does one do to get more sacks? Have Myles Garrett. I mean, have, better pass rushers.
Finish. The Provost, and this will be our last one from Twitter. Favorite OL in the draft based on value: Linderbaum, Aquonu, Cross, Kennard, Raymond, Penning, other. Favorite as far as value, Cross is fucking smooth, and I feel like he might be there for them at 14. Falele is a ton of fun, as you've hinted at on Twitter. He's pretty sick. I've got some questions about like the way that Pass Pro might translate for him, but I love him. Kenyon Green is a ton of fun. He'd be in maybe a little bit of a weird value. I think he might slide past them, but it's early in the process, so we'll see. But I feel like Aquonu might go a lot earlier than some people are thinking.
It's fluid right now. With it's early in draft season. Guys are going to rise. Guys are going to fall. Whatever. Value. I mean, to me, Falele has a lot, and this is not, I swear, this is not purple glasses, has a lot of similarities to Orlando Brown against speed rushers, particularly. Size, of course, is somewhat similar, but speed rushers has smooth, quiet feet. It's not these heavy plodding steps that are laborious for him. And then he squats down, bends at the knees, and shoots really incredible length to make those pass rushers have to run way longer around the arc. They make the circle a much looser angle, and then they can wash you out, allows the quarterback to step up to their right. As a right tackle, you're going to be able to see that happening a lot of the time. The quarterback's, a right-handed quarterback is going to be tilted that way a lot of the time, and you're able to step up through, break the pocket, break contain, and that's where defenses crumble, is when quarterbacks can roll to their throwing side and break that contain, especially a Lamar Jackson, a Josh Allen, a Patrick Mahomes, all those guys. So I think I see some similarities there in the run game. I mean, he is fucking strong as shit. Crazy raw strength. His hand placement is still not good at all. Like, so much room to grow there. It's not as bad as a Leatherwood, and you see it growing quickly, very quickly from 2019 into 2021. He opted out in 2020, but
also new to football. He, like Cody says, he's Aussie. I think he might have started playing at age 18, right? He was like a rugby player growing up.
I think he went to IMG as a junior in high school.
Okay.
And that was the first time he played football. He was found at a gym in Australia by a scout, some sort of international scout or a Pacific scout. I don't know, something. And ends up going to IMG, which is basically just a football institution.
Started on a tennis institution, actually. Shout out to Andre Agassi and Nick Bollettieri.
Absolutely, you're right about that. And they're trying to get basketball up and running as well. But so he goes there, ends up, being looked at as this project, goes in, starts, I think, his redshirt freshman year, 2019, and kills it. And then you watch them take a huge step back without him. In terms of metrics, I was looking at Sports Info Solutions, points saved, all that stuff. It's just helping with the picture. It's not a big part of it to me, but top 20 in the country, points saved, points earned, and points above average. So, you see some misses there. The thing to me with him, and I don't want to harp on him too long, I guess this is kind of my soapbox on Flele, who I've watched extensively a bit. Guys come in, and you see it in the Ohio State game in 2021. Guys come in, and they're like, all right, we're going to go put a new fresh body on him. Somebody's got to attack him. And you'll see 1 or 2 reps where an edge rusher gives everything they've got, and they'll win hand placement, and they'll lock out, and they might, snatch down and pull his jersey and win. Once or twice, it is so hard to win against him for 4 quarters. He will give up his chest to a bull rush. And of course, guys are stronger in the NFL, whatever, but still, he will give up his chest. He will lose the hands battle. Guys will get a full extension into him, and he moves 1 fucking step back. He is out of this world strong. So I think he specifically with Lamar Jackson, who is so quick, and even, in a Greg Roman offense or an offense like the Ravens, Lamar Jackson's always going to run a lot of play action. I think whoever is the coordinator would be stupid not to, if it's not Roman. So he's always going to get those low gear rushers. Guys don't want to run too quickly out of Lamar Jackson's eyes anyway. So to me, that's going to help. PFF gave him a true pass block, or whatever it's called, true pass set grade in the 80s, I think, which is very high. So I think, the feet are good. Hand placement needs to be better. Needs to have some better timing with the strikes, but I think he is the best fit for the Ravens of any of these tackles. And I think that gives him the ability to be drafted the latest, maybe, and have that value. Zach Kerlander, is he a first round pick? We're about to see, because he's about to go to that Senior Bowl, and there's a loaded group at that Senior Bowl next week, beginning of February, 2 weeks. And we're going to get to see if he's a first round pick or not. And I have a sneaking suspicion that he absolutely is.
I think you just the measurables. If for anyone that doesn't know, he's like 6'9", 400 pounds, probably like closer to 380, like realistically, but like
I think like 365.
Yeah, something like that. Like he is a mammoth. Like, and it's hilarious to watch him, because like some of the technique that you're mentioning, like it's funny because like in pass pro, a lot of the time what I saw was he would just like slip a guy to the right, and he's playing on the right tackle, so he would just slip a guy to the right and say like, oh, you want to go around me? Okay, well, I'm this fucking big and I have this wingspan and my feet are this wide that
I'm strong enough.
Yeah, and I'm strong enough, and you're not going to go anywhere. And sometimes he just pins guys down to the ground, and like they don't go anywhere. Like it's comical to watch at times.
It is. It is like it's like the camp counselor. The kids are trying to attack him in the pool, and
it's
he's just
Kramer, going up against the kids in karate, basically.
Yes,
just whipping your ass, basically.
Yes, and it is so hard to beat him for 4 quarters. You can run right behind him, down blocks, insane, caves dense in the run game. Guys can attack him and get his chest and beat him. It's going to happen, but there's also room to grow still. So he's going to come in and be able to play relatively quickly. Look at Jordan Mailata. How much he's grown, how physical and strong and athletic he was at his size, and how much he's grown. The work ethic, to me, Jordan Davis, I hear all these stories, this is just like stupid bullshit, maybe speculation, but I hear the stories of Flele, who is loves football, loves to practice, loves his teammates, loves to compete, loves to have fun on the practice field, loves to be in the gym working out, hard worker relative to football. Then you hear Jordan Davis hides in the bathroom so he doesn't have to go to weightlifting at Georgia, like doesn't love football, had to be, convinced to play, like very, very physically gifted, all these things, but like that's going to factor in to where a guy goes. And that's the stuff that we're not going to know necessarily where it's at, specifically with many of these players in this class. Some guys might be bums. Some guys might be the hardest working, most charismatic. That's how guys fall. That's how evaluators fall in love with guys, is through those and getting to know these players and, how kind of bright they are in the eyes, or, how great they are, overcoming adversity, things like that. So to me, Flele is maybe a first rounder. The other guys, Charles Cross, you mentioned, to me, I think I'm going to put him at OT1. The scary thing to me there is that there's 2 things. He was bad in 2020, which is his first year as a starter. He's bad. You saw improvement, but it's bad. Air raid, to me, played in Mike Leach's air raid. To me, that gives you experience in your pass sets. I think the run game, especially on a team like the Ravens, can be coached up. People have the question of, what do you do with him if you draft if you draft Cross, what do? You have Stanley. If Cross is there and you're not really happy with anyone else, I'm fine having 2 franchise left tackles, and maybe one of them has to play right tackle. It's probably going to be Cross, but I would rather have 2 than none. And that's what my worry is. They have to overcompensate on the offensive line right now. I think that by the draft, the Ravens should have a much clearer picture of where Ronnie Stanley's at. He'll be removed from his last procedure by, when do you get that, Jake? October, maybe?
Yep. Or November, maybe. Yeah.
Like late September, early October, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So that's, going to be 6-7 months out from that procedure. And it was supposed to be, clean up and something else. So I think they'll have a good idea. So at that point, interesting. Aquanu, to me, has the badassery, has the kick-assness to him, the desire to be physical and finish. So, I think there's improvements. I don't think he's the quickest guy on earth, but the tenaciousness is there, all those things. I don't think they can sniff Evan Neal. Penning, to me, is really intriguing. Watched one game against Iowa State. Once he has that Ryan Jensen to him. Guys, defensive players fucking hate him. That he won't stop hitting through and after the whistle. So a lot of these tackles. Kennard, think he's an inside guy. Watch Trayvon Walker fucking abuse him. I was just watching Walker, and doesn't look like he has the athleticism to play on the outside to me, the quickness. So I think he's a little bit more of an inside guy. I'm not sure how high I am on him ultimately, but Penning, Cross, Flaley, a lot of those guys are quite intriguing right now. There's a couple more that we'll get into eventually, but I'm excited for this tackle class.
Good year to need offensive linemen. And that is all we had from Twitter. Sorry if I didn't get to your question. There were some redundancies. So in order to keep the show running, let's get on over to IG.
Absolutely. Sam Quintana, what is the podcast schedule looking like during off-season /draft /preseason? Great stuff. Been listening for a while. Podcast schedule, we're likely going to be doing more Tuesday-ish, Thursday-ish episodes, or maybe Monday, Thursday. We'll get that all definitive. We're going to be laying down the purple prospect portfolio. We are open to name change suggestions, I think.
Or are we going to stick with Beatdown's big boards? Because that's
the Beatdown big board. That's what it is. Yep. Beatdown big board. That's coming back. Forgot what we called it. Beatdown big board coming back. I know we had another one ask about you, Jake. Where was it? I'll find it eventually. They want to know essentially what your plans are for this offseason, and if you're going to have evergreen kind of content, I believe. So it's I am Jay Richter, who's here in the comments as well. What is Jake's next big podcast project?
So there's something in the works. I'm really not ready to talk about it like literally at all yet. I've put some pen to paper on it. It wouldn't nearly be like quite the scale of Forgotten Dynasty, which was like 6 episodes and like 12 total hours. Be something a little bit smaller, I think, for a lot of reasons. I think to kind of just scale it down, maybe try something a little bit smaller, and just sort of focus in on something a little bit more tight, as opposed to like a 30-year time period that I span with that. I think it would make it a little more digestible. So I do have plans to maybe try and get something like that out this offseason. I'm not going to rush it if I can't find the time, but it's not going anywhere. So I definitely have an iron in the fire in that regard, but not quite ready to say anything yet. And when I am, like, my style is like, I'll announce it, and then it'll be ready to come out within like a week or two. So
love it. Evergreen content. That's what the off season's for, baby, especially post-draft season.
Oh, yeah.
Mitch McGee, favorite prospect to fall to 14, not named Linderbaum or Gardner. At this point, I think it's Booth for me. Booth, it feels like those who critique his game and have him as like a player in the 20s don't have very strong criticism. They're very, very vague. I think PFF has him in the 20s, and it's Renner. And I think the comment is that we saw him kind of, not finish 2021 as strongly, let up some plays or something like that. But to me, the traits are outstanding. The production's there. The skills are all there. So for me, that's him right now. And then Charles Cross probably.
Yeah, Charles Cross definitely. I mean, like if Aquanu starts to fall, like, and he's getting into that up near the 10 sort of range, I'm all for like packaging some stuff. And like, I don't really love the JJ chart, but I know a lot of teams still use it. So I would have to look into the JJ value and kind of see what it would cost to go up and get a guy like that. But you're at 14. That's not the worst spot in the world. And I'm all in on getting tackle insurance, because like we've been talking about, this Ronnie Stanley situation is concerning to say the least. I think they'll probably have more clarity on it by then. So who knows what the strategy will be by that point, but you can never be 100% sure with something like this. So.
Yeah. We have questions about trading up. I think I'm going to do an official moratorium on trading up talk. It's something that happens very rarely, especially with this franchise. Mock drafts. I'm making my 2022 NFL draft resolution. I will not be posting or talking about or extrapolating on anything, especially in the first round involving trading up and really trading backs. No tradesies 2022 for mock drafts. The Ravens are picking at 14. Hopefully I'm jinxing this. Maybe, I don't know, but they need a lot of picks. They don't have a great cap situation right now. They're going to need bodies. They need, with Lamar Jackson potentially getting paid, it feels like they're going to need a lot of bodies. And they like those lottery tickets, whatever. But 14 is very high for them. I feel like they think they can hit a blue chipper. So no tradesies 2022, especially in the first round. With that, Hamilton, I mean, yeah, if you can throw in a third round pick, move up 2 spots, jump the Browns and take them or something, or 3 spots, throw next year's 4th and a 3rd this year.
Shout out to them in 2016 for not being willing to part with a 3rd round pick and not getting Jalen Ramsey and getting Ronnie Stanley, which worked out for a time. But brother, I'm a little nervous.
Yeah. So Hamilton, it feels like tough. Sure. Hamilton's probably going to be a top 5 player in this class for me. Jake, I know you've liked him for a long time. You're also a little lighthearted to the Notre Dame boys as well. So
yeah, I'm a homer, but I am a Hamilton guy, 100%.
Alexander and Kyle both. So yeah, I'm done with trade up talk. I'm gonna cut those out for a while. If I see a really intriguing one in the next couple of months and really intriguing question on trading up, let's discuss it. But this is like year 4 for us. No, year 3 of covering the draft for this.
Yes,
because we started in the summer. So this is year 3. The trade up stuff, guys. Let's zero in. No tradesies. Let's hone it.
Yet at least. Let's just get into the prospects for now. And like
when it's fun when you're doing a mock draft. Go have fun. When you're doing it through the shit online, go have fun. But let's do prospects. Let's look at 14. Let's look at who we want between guys and not worry about that. And I know on PFF you can make some really fun trades and end up with 6 first-rounders, whatever. Let's hone in on 14. Let's look at Ajabo. Let's look at Booth. Let's look at Cross. Let's look at these guys. Who's the one? That's what I want to zero in on here. Moving on. Should the Ravens sign Akeem Hicks? Yeah.
That's a really good idea. I like that.
Had some injury troubles, it feels like, the last couple of years, but depends on the price. But again, my strategy, much similar to Dan Duquette's in his tenure with the Baltimore Orioles.
You Orioles fans miss. # bring back Dan.
# bring back Mark Trestman.
Yeah.
Buy the bats, grow the arms. Buy the defense, grow the offense. I think that is what we have seen, very much so. Defenders, it feels like in free agency, there's a little bit more saturation. Defenders feel like there's much quicker adjustment, intertwining scheme, whatever. Feels like the language changes, but the coverages are somewhat the same. A lot of the same stuff defensively. Feels like offensive players get, like, look at Corey Davis, Kenny Golladay. Maybe they'll produce, but I really wanted Corey Davis this past cycle. I'm willing to eat crow on that one. Maybe it would have worked out differently in Baltimore, but feels like it's rare that the big money guys in free agency end up being great signings. I mean, Zeitler signs for, a couple million cap hit, one of the best free agency signings of the year of any team. Justin Houston, veteran defender, comes in. Josh Bynes, guy you can bring in. How many times have we seen, Daryl Smith or, Doomerville, they end up making a play for. All these defenders, it feels like, translate through free agency much more fluidly. To me, maybe that's just stupid and big brain, but to me, it's I want to buy the defense. So Akeem Hicks, I think, great. Bobby Wagner, great. We talked to Marcus Williams and some other guys like that. So all very intriguing to me.
100%.
Kurtz Priya, hear rumblings about firing Wink due to quarterbacks figuring out his scheme. Thoughts? Quarterbacks figure out every scheme. Like every defense, that isn't healthy, sent out from hell. Last year they were an elite defense. This year they missed some guys. The secondary underperforms a little bit, blows a lot of assignments. Feels like Marcus Peters was a big loss for them. Linebacker situation was spotty. Calais Campbell missed time. Brandon Williams missed time. Deshaun Elliott goes down. Marlon Humphrey goes down. Tavon Young's coming back from injury. Jimmy Smith isn't playing. Chris Westry's even hurt at one point. Anthony Avertt's hurt at one point. I don't I don't put a lot of stock into that. I don't know what that means necessarily. Cover zero, I think Judon and I can't recall I think it was Quandre Diggs and Judon are talking about cover zero. They think it should be, once in a while call, not something to hang your hat on. I think the Ravens let up 6 touchdowns on cover zero this year, 1 pick. I think it was 15 of 31 opposing passers were 6 touchdowns, 1 pick, 5 passes defended. So under 50% completion, but definitely let up some big plays. You think of that one to Goodwin against the Bears, happened a couple times. So could tone it down for sure. I think teams have caught up to cover zero. They're especially against the Ravens. It feels like they're prepared for that a little bit more so, but the league leader 30 times in a season, it's once or twice a game. So the cover zero stuff I think is a little bit oversaturated. It just feels like they don't have leaders. They don't have a lot of players in their prime. They didn't have a lot of players in their prime that are like playing at the high level that you can hang your hat on really. So it was a very young and old defense. It felt like, a little bit polarized in that sense. Marlon Humphrey didn't have a great year. I think Wink's fine. I think he does a great job.
When's the last time they had 1 first-round pick on defense out of 4 years? Felt like they were going defense in the first round for a while. You go 18, you get 2 offensive first-round picks. 19, offensive first-round pick. 20, you get a middle linebacker that didn't work out great for the first years.
28,
you get a wide receiver and then a pass rusher. So it's, they've definitely been skewing a little more towards offense with their higher picks too, which hasn't helped in that regard, I don't think. But I was all for it and still am. So
definitely going back through, overall in let's say day 1, day 2, Owe and Stevens, Matabike, the only day 2 defender taken. So they took Queen and Matabike. Jalen Ferguson in 2019, 2018, none. So you've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the first 3 rounds, over the last 4 years. So I definitely think there's some stock there. A lot of late round defenders. Need an infusion of talent on defense a little bit. The Jimmies and Joes are more than the X's and O's. And I think on defense, that definitely is a major factor. You lose guys like CJ Mosley. You lose guys like Matt Judon, Zadarius Smith. A lot of guys walked away. So need to revamp there. Calais Campbell, Marcus Peters, the 2 big names they brought in. Obviously, Earl Thomas fucked them over big time. A really shitty situation considering how well he played in 2019 and how it turned out. So I think Jake's spot on there. Draft a defensive player in the first round, draft 3 offensive linemen. How about that? Then a tight end. Let's have that be like the first 2 days of the draft. Let's go defensive playmaker, maybe a Booth, maybe a Ajabo, maybe Walker, someone like of that nature. Hamilton, God forbid. Derwin James. You never know with Hamilton. Derwin James was available at 16, falls a bit. Maybe Hamilton's got some dumb medical concern or something, but.
Also safeties, like we always say, like, oh, this safety is going to go really high. Trevon Merrick falls to the second. It's like it happens with safeties all the time, I feel like.
That's true. Not a ton. Jamal Adams, the only one I can think of that's drafted super high lately.
Yeah.
So maybe we shall see. Lamar's the only reason why Harbaugh has a job. He's a joke of a head coach. When will we get rid of Harbaugh, Roman, and Wink?
Tomorrow.
Yeah, that'll go well.
Eric Bieniemy and everything. They're going to win a Super Bowl, and that's the end of it. And you, sir, are a genius.
This is going to be a crucial year. I will say that. Roman, maybe it's time for some fresh blood offensively. Again, coordinators for 2 coordinators to last 4 years is one of the how often has that happened? Let's say in the last 10 years that both coordinators on both sides of the ball have stayed for 4 years.
Jim Caldwell got a head coaching job after the 2013 season, which was one of the more unpleasant offensive watches I've ever seen. And he turned out to be a pretty good hire. So yeah, it's interesting.
It is. So, coordinators, you can use some fresh blood a little bit, maybe on one side. Wink, I'm riding with Wink still. I think he's a great defensive mind. I think that there's a lot of respect for him in the league. Roman, you want to get some fresh blood in. You want to get a new offense, steal a little bit of Roman's old offense. Go for it. So
yeah, I'm
Harbaugh to me. If they shit the bed again, maybe it is a Brian Billick situation. You gotta get fresh blood in there, something of the sort. But Harbaugh to me is getting a job immediately if he is walks away from the Ravens. If he wants another job in the NFL, he's going to get one immediately.
Yeah, I'm sticking with John for pretty much forever. Like John's my guy. I'm riding with John. Wink is a lot of sweat equity with me. I think he's around for at least another couple of years if he wants to be. And Roman, yeah, I'm pretty hit or miss on at this point. If they want to replace him, I'm fine with that.
For sure. Ryan J. Laurie, if you could change one rule for next year, what rule would you change? For me, the first one I have two. The first one that comes to mind is immediately that DPI is not a spot foul. It's a 15-yard penalty.
Yep.
The second is that all fumbles are fumbles.
Explain.
If the ball comes out, it's a fumble.
Yeah, but how do you define that?
If it happens before the whistle's blown, the ball comes out, if it's in question at all, it's a fumble.
So no tuck rule.
Let's get the fumbles going. Let's pump the fumbles up. I'm talking more quarterbacks. If the arm's going forward, not it's still a pass. But I'm talking more like skill players with the ball. Like if the ground forces the ball out, it's a fumble.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think that's the best way to put it. If the ground forces the ball out, it's a fumble.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, we got to start either calling less offensive holding or offensive holding is a 5-yard penalty. It's just an absolute drive killer, and they call it so fucking often. I feel like it's
gotten pretty crazy lately.
It is, and it's like it's
really hard to call real time. Let's go sky judge on that. Like, let's be more thorough with holding.
Yeah, it's just like it's a drive killer. I mean, 10 yards, like that's an entire set of downs. Like, and that just completely screws teams over. And like, maybe I'm biased as a team who, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it feels like there was a lot of those called against the Ravens this year. I'm sure you're pulling them up, but man, it's a rough watch. I see it in other games and it frustrates me. It's like, man, like either fucking fix this rule or keep the flags in your pocket. And I know that the latter is not going to happen. So let's do something about this.
The Baltimore Ravens were 31st. They had 31 offensive holdings, which was 28th in the NFL, which was 289 yards, nullified 146 yards, and they stalled 13 drives. So the Ravens were 28th in most offensive holding. They were 30th in yards, cumulatively for holding, and they were 26th in the most stalled drives. So 13 of their drives stalled or they punted, or I guess they punted after an offensive holding.
Yeah, so I'm probably confusing that with just overall offensive line and procedural penalties, which is probably a larger discussion. But yeah, it just feels like even watching other games, like I said, like it's like, oh, you get a hold, and like for a lot of offenses, that's just there's a drive pretty much gone. So that's frustrating to me. And
I mean, they ranked very poorly. They were 31st in the NFL. They had the 30th. They were the worst in the NFL basically.
Oh, okay. So
it was not. They were bad in that. So I'm saying
okay.
0 holdings would be best, and that would be first in the NFL.
Okay.
31 offensive holdings is the 28th, so it's the 4th worst. They were 3rd in most yards lost from holdings, and they had the 6th most drives stall as a result of holdings.
Which makes sense because Villanueva, it's fucking hacksaw rigs out there. The guy's just hanging on for dear life, literally.
Him and Zeitler, I think, accounted for the majority of the holds, actually.
Yeah, I want to say that he had a lot of them. And yeah, it was frustrating. Even, and like I said, even just watching other games, like the refs just, they will not keep these flags in their pants. And like, if that's going to be the reality, then that's the reality. But this is one that I just feel like is kind of a little bit of a game breaking glitch. So let's get into the code, into the matrix, and let's fix it. 5 yards.
Certainly. Any vet running backs returning despite Dobbins and Gus back? To me, let's have one of those 4th round, maybe one of the last that 189 I think they have in the 6th round maybe. Let's draft a running back day 3. I think. Let's see the Ravens do that. Let's get some fresh legs, some juice. Somebody that look at an Eli Mitchell. Look at some of these guys that have been a little bit later. Let's see Hassan Haskins, maybe a Sincere McCormick, Abraham Smith out of Baylor. Let's see. I was really into Zach Charbonnet, UCLA, as a monster back. He's returning to school, so let's get some fresh blood in here.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a perfect year for it. And I mean, you talk about those two guys, those other 2 guys are still pretty young. So having a young 3-headed monster there, and then with Lamar at quarterback, I like the prospects there. And it would be a good investment too, because both these guys are coming off pretty serious injuries. So
exactly. So I think you can kind of maybe you rely on those 2 the first month. You want to see them come back, and then you can kind of ease off, pump the brakes, let a rookie get some touches. And we all know Jakey Boy loves the fresh legs down the stretch. So I think that there's some interesting running backs. I mean, Kyron Williams at a Notre Dame, really good third down back. James Cook could provide some juice. Tyler Algier at a BYU, really, really, really exciting back. Breece Hall, Iowa State. I mean, Brian Robinson, even Zonovan Knight, Damian Pierce, Zeus, Samir White out of Georgia.
Trade a 6th-round pick for Trey Sermon.
Yeah, right. Kyle Shanahan's not giving up no backs. I ain't giving up no backs.
He's got like 50 of them. You don't even use him.
Jerry and Ely, fuck that. Draft Jerry and Ely. Draft Abram Smith. Draft Pierre Strong. Tyler Goodson out of Iowa. I mean, I think this is going to be a bad running back year. I don't think we see one taken in the first round. Probably. Let's get it back on day 3. Let's see the Ravens get it back on day 3.
Okay.
Sure. If you want Trey Sermon, go get him. Go get him. You're entitled to that opinion, big boy.
Okay.
Kyle Shanahan. Who knows, man? By Sunday, who knows who will be alive?
Yeah, he's all bangers all the time. And he's just like, dude, what the fuck? Mike, I'm going to trade Trey Sermon. Kyle Shanahan is Kendall Roy is my recurring bit.
Dude, can we get some synergy going in here? Like, with Dad's really weighing me down. I mean, all bangers all the time, man.
Yeah, cool tweets, all bangers all the time. That's kind of my thing. Who is Mike McDaniel? Is he Romulus?
Has to be.
He's cousin Greg, isn't he?
Has to be, but he's like, I think he has to be Greg because he like Mike McDaniel is like Kyle Shanahan's, Robin. That's his little assistant. That's his, his buddy. Yeah. And Romulus hates Ken too much.
Yeah, he's he's a little spacey, but he's also smarter than he lets on. You can kind of tell it. So I like the cousin Greg comparison there. They don't necessarily look alike. I made the comparison actually to Mike McDaniel maybe a week or two ago at this point. That he is he's a character actor from the late 90s and early 2000s, and he appears mostly in stoner comedies. Would go on to become one of the pioneers of the podcasting industry in the mid 2000s. That's what he looks like to me.
I completely agree. Jay Buffoni, is Liver King natty? Is the Liver King natural? No, brother. The Liver King is pumped up full of definite.
You sure about that? He's eating his slonkers and his he's drinking those eggs down, shot by shot. What's up, Primals? Every morning. Him and
Ancestral Living Primals. We're about it.
We got to get him and Marlon in a room together. I know there's just a few degrees of separation there. We need to.
There's only a few synapses that are firing differently between Marlon being Marlon and Marlon being the Liver King.
That's a slippery slope right there. But I'm really anxious to see what that would look like. So we got to,
especially because like millionaire Marlon can now. Like he wants to, he's so flashy now. He
wants to get, billionaire Marlon is going to be like Gavin Belson. He's going to be fucking with like blood bags and shit. Like he's going to be.
Marlon Humphrey is the Gavin Belson of the NFL. That is spot on established.
Yeah. And he has spoken on the Liver King. I don't know if it was on Twitter or if he shared like an Instagram thing. So that's something that I'd be really, let's watch this space is what I would say.
100%. But the Liver King is not natty. He is on stuff, man. I mean, he's jacked out.
Yeah,
he's short, 5'7", 5'8" king. He's a short king, so that helps a little bit, but there's no way he's natty.
You're not getting that definition. You're not getting those abs by just crushing slonkers and like doing whatever he does with like his sit-up routine and his simulated hunts. That's not happening.
I see a little gynecomasty there. I see some titties, man. I see the nipple development. Freaks me out. Nipples hard all the time. That's how you know.
Yeah, he freaks me out. That's for sure.
Definitely. Rugger 25 is a hot dog, a sandwich, or a sub. Rugger 25.
Hold on. We're going to go to break. This is Mike and Mike on the Progressive Insurance Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Mike, I wanted to talk to you about this. Is a hot dog a sandwich? But first, is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
No, Greenie.
He's just eating.
You just can't. You just can't, Greenie. Come on.
It's actually funny you mentioned that because I was talking to the wife the other day and she said that a hot dog actually is a glizzy. More after the break.
Seinfeld.
A hot dog is a hot dog. It's just, let's let it be what it is. Why do we have to?
I can't believe you're not hitting the Seinfeld synth right now.
There you go.
That's what that is for. Rugger 25, I'm going to come at you right now a little bit. I'm going to come at you. A sandwich or a sub. What does sub mean? A submarine sandwich. So is a sandwich a sandwich? Yes. Are subs a sandwich? Yes. If by that logic, are glizzies a sandwich? If you're putting glizzies into either sandwich or submarine, then the answer is yes on yes. Oh, the answer is yes on both accounts.
Yes. Yeah. You're listen, I love me a good sandwich, but you're a sandwich. You are the sandwich guy. So I mean, you literally started a sandwich Instagram account, so I'm gonna have to defer to you on that. But yeah, a hot dog's a hot dog. Like let's just put that to rest. It's just gonna
Agreed.
be we don't have to define things and put things into boxes. That's not the world that I want to live in. And a hot dog is a hot dog.
100% agree. 100% agree. Let's go through some fun ones here. Glassy Fresh. Who should Terps basketball hire as their new coach? Somebody from PG County.
Maryland fans want Rick Pitino. # let's pick Rick.
Boom. Rickard, baby.
That would be a really fast route to success.
It would. Fast times at
They
College
would come quickly to one of the high they would to the Elite Eight at least. They would come quickly to that.
They would come so quick. Z Zoller.
Hopefully the moment wouldn't be too big and they would piss down their leg.
Jesus Christ. Z Zoller, who is your dream free Z Zoller, who's your dream free agent signing? Mewtwo? I would go Mewtwo, probably.
Wait, what?
Who's your dream free agent signing? I would go Mewtwo.
Who's Mewtwo?
Most powerful Pokemon, brother. I mean, Mewtwo playing free safety.
Oh.
Woo! Mewtwo's 6'7", psychic with pressure ability. Oh my god. I mean, unless you're looking at a dark bug or a ghost, I think Mewtwo is going to be successful in the Ravens scheme. I think Wink could do great things with Mewtwo.
Shout out to a show that I've been watching, Peacemaker. I'm going to sign Peacemaker to play tight end / fullback.
Oh, the old.
I've already tried that with that wrestler dude, which didn't really work out, but that's okay.
Bronson Rechsteiner.
Yeah.
Ben Mason and Bronson Rechsteiner.
Give me Bronson Rechsteiner over Ben Mason any fucking
Those two should be a tag team duo in the old WWE.
Listen, Bronson is not looking for work. He is doing just fine in that regard. So
exactly. How much does Lamar get? About Tree Fitty. Let's go. I don't know. The old streets are saying that Lamar is one metric shitload of dollars. And the Ravens were not there. I think the Ravens struck first from what I hear, and this is all bullshit that I just heard from dumb Thorthiv, quote unquote.
Are we going to
apparently the Ravens struck first? And we're like, all right, here's a number. Lamar was like, no, way too low. That's all I've heard, and that could be completely false. Do not take that for real info, but I think Lamar is looking at 120 milli plus guaranteed. And I think the Ravens had a little trepidation. The season was weird. What's going on? Do we want to get an offensive line in front of him? Can we do that with the cap space in the draft? What's the situation? They could save a lot of money this year by doing it. Is that worth it to them? I don't know. This took a lot longer than I thought. I thought it'd be done by now, to be honest. So feels like we're starting to get in a little situation where this is going to become a real talking point in the next couple months.
6 years, $44 million per year.
Right around Josh Allen money then.
Just literally $1 million more than him.
1 million more. Josh Allen had a $10 million cap hit this year, has a 16 next year, and then I think it's like a 44 after that.
It might be less with that no agents fee. Might not be much less, but that
only saves I think 2%.
2 or 3.
So a couple mil, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Could be 6 mil. But maybe he wants that for himself. And he's like, well, that's money that I save, not you. Who knows?
Could be.
Pat Evan Collins. We got a couple. We'll end with a couple season kind of broad questions we got here. Jay Buffoni, optimistic win total with the cupcake schedule.
Is it a cupcake schedule?
They've got the loser schedule. So they play the Giants, the Jets. I don't know. Yeah, they play all the losers. So the NFC out of division cross conference game is, I think, is going to be a 4th place. And then their 2 AFC games will be 4th place finishers as well. The 2 AFC games that are aside from the AFC North schedule. So they have 3 Lehu Zahers instead of Wihin Ahers.
I don't really know about like win totals, but man, I just like this division. I feel like it's going to be a bitch for a couple of years, especially if Pittsburgh gets like a at least decent option at quarterback like this offseason. I mean, I don't know, man. This division is just beating itself up.
Bengals are only going to get better.
Yeah,
they've got cap space.
Browns are going to get Baker back. They'll be right around 500 at worst, I think. Like, it's tough. They went 1-5 in the division this year, as we've said. Like, you got to be better than that.
That was a difference. I mean, you're 3-3. You're easily in the playoffs. If you're 5-1, you're talking about a 1 seed. So the Bungles, I mean, they have 25 right now in the mocks. They have 25, 57, 89, 127, 137, 166, 202. And in terms of cap space before moves are made, I think they've got to do some things with Mr. Bates and a couple other situations. 2022, they have $55 million in cap space. Oh, great. So Bengals are on cloud 9 and only going to get better. I think we're going to see them as a top of conference finisher, 11, 12, 13 win team as we move forward. And this is going to coincide with a couple other questions. Pat Evan Collins, does the cap situation affect rebuild or retool strategy next year? Yeah, they're fucked. The Ravens are not in a good spot right now. Ronnie Stanley situation is so key to what happens to the Ravens in the next 2 years. They are absolutely unable to save any money with him outside of an extension, which they don't, it feels like a bad idea, maybe. If he can't play or can't play at like a top 12 left tackle level, they're screwed, man. I mean, $20 million cap hit really weighing you down. Marlon Humphrey needs to come back and play at a top level and get his shit together, be more consistent, play a little more technical, a little bit less physical. I think he needs to save his body. And that's something that I feel like I jinxed this year. I definitely said it to you, Jake. I feel like maybe even on this podcast, how is he staying healthy so long, the way that he's playing? We need to see him hone in on becoming a more, focusing on nuance and consistent technical reps more so than being a tornado all the time and throwing your head and your shoulder and your limbs and punching and all. I mean, the punches are great. Force a fumble, absolutely. You are too valuable to miss games. Have, reckless abandon when needed. Fourth quarter, late in the year, playoffs. Turn the hell up, absolutely. But let's see the technical consistency rise as the cream to the crop. The cream rises to the top, and those two guys are $100 million players. And over the cap valued Marlon Humphrey at $2 million this year on the second biggest cornerback contract in the NFL. So has to step up next year. Has to step up. Ball skills. We got Fish Trainer here. Has to play the ball better in the air. It's not who he is, unfortunately. Can he improve there? Sure. He had a nice pick in the Bengals game despite getting torched. Made some nice plays there, but to me, it's just he got away from himself technically. What we saw from him in like 2018, 2019 seemed like a much more technically sound player and has a lot more, the violence has always been there, but to me, he's relying on it a little bit too much now. I think he needs to really hunker down and get after it in terms of being technical.
Agreed. I think just consistency overall out of him is really what I want to see. So, that's
the original question is, does the cap situation affect rebuild strategy for next year? So as we have it, the Ravens sit with $11 million in cap space in 2022. None, basically. Very, very, very little. The Earl Thomas situation is pretty much done with, it feels like, and they still don't have that money in terms of what they can do cut-wise. So 11, Marcus Peters, they could cut for $4.5 million. So basically, is Marcus Peters worth $4.5 million to the Ravens next year? Yes. Can he maybe take a little bit less money? Sure. Can you extend him? Sure. To me, $4.5 million, no brainer. You keep Marcus Peters. Tavon Young, you can save $2 million. Tough. I mean, to me, that's a coin flip. I love Tavon. They it feels like the Ravens mean so much to him. He means so much to them. Sticking with him was incredible. Awesome story this year. Him being able to stay pretty healthy all year after the injuries he suffered. Are we gonna get that again? I don't know. If you put a gun to my head, I'm gonna lean no. Villanueva, you can save 2.75. Done, gone, easy. Other than that, man, I mean, nothing. Can't get rid of Derek Wolfe. The only other one that jumps out is Miles Boykin. You can save $2 million. So let's see. If the Ravens cut Villanueva, that's an extra 2.75. You're up around 14. You cut Tavon Young, you're up around 16. You cut Boykin, you're up around 18 million. That's not a lot. Not a lot. And I think some of that is needed for liabilities for rookies and futures and practice squad and all that stuff. So the true number is not very high. Moves they can make restructure wise. Marlon Humphrey, you can push 7 million if you want. Nick Boyle, you can push 1.9 million. Zeitler, you can push 2.4 million. Tucker, you can push, those are the avenues to create enough space to, fill out as much as you need ahead of the draft to draft freely. And then extension wise, I mean, pretty much anybody they can extend and get a good bit of money there. So Lamar, 17 million, Stanley, 6 million, not going to happen. Peter, 7 million, potentially happens. Tavon Young, they could they can save more money by extending Tavon Young than by cutting him right now, which maybe that's the move that we end up seeing. Other than that, Chuck Clark, 1.3, Gus Edwards, 1.7. I don't know if those are likely. Ben Powers, 1.2. So they're up against it. They do have 10 picks. This is kind of the draft. I'm going to put a lot into this draft, man. This is the draft that might define whether the Ravens are a Super Bowl caliber team in the next 5 years. They have to hit this one. They have to nail this draft. Expecting to get 5 starters out of a draft, again, is hoping for magic and getting angry if it doesn't happen. But you need an impact player, 1 or 2 starters, and 2 role players out of this draft. I think that would be absolutely nailing it. That's like an A- grade to me. And they need it bad. Otherwise, I think they are in a bad situation, especially if Ronnie Stanley can't come back.
Yeah, I like Stanley is the key, man. He is such a key player, a literal franchise cornerstone, probably the most important outside of your quarterback right now. I mean, even more than just his money situation, him coming back and playing at like even 90% of the level that he's been able to play at is so crucial to their future. And they need an answer before the draft on what's going to happen with him moving forward. And maybe that's not a possibility. But like you can't be ambiguous about it. You got to like talk straight with him and like his representation, because they went into this year, with the idea that he's just going to slot back in there. And then, there's misgivings and it's like, it's not good enough and it gets checked out and it's certainly not good enough. And he needs surgery again. Like you can't have that again. You can't have Alejandro.
I think that makes 3 surgeries in a year.
It's nuts. Like you can't have that. And like, you can't have that for him and for his health. So he's got to make a decision for himself, his health, and his future as to whether he wants to keep doing this. And they have to make a decision about their own future, about whether he can be relied upon with his health. So that is the key situation. And there's no easy answer to it. And there's no timeline that we can just sit down and say, okay, it's going to be solved here. This could linger into next season and it could fuck them over in the same way that it did this year. So, and it's not his fault. I'm not saying that, but like,
we wish the best for him. Great dude, great community leader, great player. The worst luck of any in Ravens history, the worst luck of any timing, contract wise. This is all-time bad beat for him, for the Ravens. A couple days, 3 days after signing?
Pretty good beat for him if you think about it. It's tough for them.
Yeah, it was fortunate for Ronnie that he was able to get paid for the Ravens. For the Ravens, it's no fault of Ronnie's. Again, we wish the best for him, but holy shit, man! 3 days. You have the best left tackle in football. 3 days later, you're without him for potentially maybe it's at least a season and a half. I mean, last year, honestly, they could have beaten the Bills if they had him. I think. I think that game could have gone differently. Pressure was an issue. They might have gotten a better seed if they had him. they might have won 2 more games in the regular season. They might have been playing in Baltimore instead of Buffalo. Who knows what could have gone differently? But that is the defining. They are at the mercy of that situation. And I think that this is a Super Bowl capable team if Ronnie Stanley can get healthy. And I think that they're going to be really, really struggling to reach that true balanced on both sides of the ball, contending, deep, talented level to get to where they need to go. So they're really at the mercy of that ankle.
Yeah. So
with that being said, we can move into the final question here. Little revisionist history. Giggletard. Do you ever look back at 2019 and think, damn, we should have went all the way there? It's hard not to. It's hard not to have that thought. With that 1 seed, you get that automatic bye. You're automatically that much closer. The fact that they didn't even get to a championship game is really tough pill to swallow. Absolutely. But they just were completely unbalanced offensively. I don't know what to say. The best team doesn't always win. The Broncos, the year the Ravens won the Super Bowl, that 2011, 22, or that 2012, 2013 Broncos team, that was the best team in the NFL. And I think that's why a lot of the math guys, refraining from the A word, but a lot of the math guys say, oh, well, the Rams traded for Von Miller and they're, making such drastic sacrifices to try to be the best team, but the best team doesn't always win. The hottest team does, the luckiest team does, the healthiest team does. So they trade for Von Miller, people are, having discourse on what's the deal, because the best team doesn't always win. Best team does not always win, not even close sometimes, especially if it's not someone that involves the old Tom Brady. So that was the year in a way, but at the same time, they had screwing foot Marquise Brown, second-year Mark Andrews, Seth Roberts, and Miles Boykin and Willie Steen. That was their
second-year Lamar Jackson. And it's
playoff game Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, that probably that was their best chance in a long time, that's for sure. But they didn't play football for 2 weeks, and then they stepped onto a football field versus the most physical, or maybe one of the most physical teams in the league that year, that was running hot, and they just taking out the Patriots in their own house. So and listen,
they got ran all over. The Titans ran all over them straight up.
But if you go back and watch that game, if they don't have some of those, and this sounds like a shitty fan thing to say, but if they don't have some of the unlucky breaks in that game, the Jonnu Smith touchdown, some of that shit,
the butt cheek,
the Ravens maybe win that game,
14-6 at halftime.
Yeah. The Ravens maybe win that game 8 times out of 10. Looking at that team and how good they were, I'm pretty confident in that saying. And I think that's something that Gordon and I have talked about a little bit too. And it's not to discredit the Titans or to downplay the Ravens going into that game unprepared, because they certainly did. But that's football, man. It's one game. It's not a series. The ball is not round. It bounces in weird ways, and that's what happened for them that night. So it's
that leather oblong thing. Failed fourth downs, which were a key factor in them going 14-2, was the ability to convert fourth downs and that aggressive math that everybody fell in love with. Daniel Stern, the Yale dog. It didn't break their way. And again, the best team doesn't always win. So was that the year? No, because they weren't balanced enough. They didn't have the receivers. They didn't have the horses that when the run game isn't going, when Mark Ingram's banged up, Mark Andrews is, banged up as well. They didn't have the pass game to be able to convert and make hay in those situations. And defensively, they had that interior defensive line of Williams and Pierce and Wormley, and they got ran through. That wasn't supposed to happen. They weren't supposed to get ran through, and they got punched in the face over and over and over and over again. Couldn't man up, get Derrick Henry on the ground. Broke down in coverage on what did Tannehill throw? 14 passes in that game. They broke down in coverage 3 times. That cover 3 run defense where they have the 3 deep and it's, single high safety. They've really, really failed to execute there. And I think that started with, that Khalif Raymond touchdown. We've seen, the Michael Pittman touchdown against the Colts this year in a similar situation. That cover 3 man match, I guess it's more of just straight cover 3 actually, has been awful for the Ravens. They need to be more wary of those situations and stay away from that, because that has been an Achilles heel many times. That run prowess, 3-man high look that cover 3 has really bit them in the ass. So 2019, I mean, sure, it's easy to look back and say, but no, man, no, they didn't do anything that year. They didn't really do anything other than have a great regular season.
Yeah, exactly. So,
2011, we also have Richter say, what would you change about Ravens history? Maybe that, Billy Cundiff, Lee Evans game, but honestly, nothing. I wouldn't change anything about Ravens history.
You know what? It's been a very blessed experience as a fan. But 2011, yeah, if Evans catches that, I think they, I don't know if I'd say they smoked the Giants because the Giants had a team of destiny thing going on, but that was a winnable Super Bowl. But they, that's part of the story of their 2012 Super Bowl, so.
Exactly. Before we get out of here, I want to mention a good friend of mine, Sam Hennig. He's a master barber in Baltimore. We might have a sponsorship on the way, but this is a hashtag free ad for him. Came out with something that I used today for the first time that he's had in the works for 2 years. It is a shaving lotion, shaving moisturizer called Smooth as Purr. You can see the label here if you're watching on YouTube. Great labeling, great packaging. $15. 2 alternatives. One has CBD in it to soothe and hydrate your skin. Another one does not. If you're not into CBD and that's not for you, you can find it at smoothasfshaving.com. Smoothafshaving.com. Again, so that's smooth as fuck. It's outstanding. My skin was very dry winter. Put it on. My God, dude, this stuff is incredible. Also, for women, share it with your loved ones or any female listeners out there to shave your legs with. It has CBD in it. It's perfect for it. It's a lotion. It's not a cream. So it's hydrating, prevents razor burn. We'll get Jakey some. We might have an official sponsorship on the way, but just wanted to shout him out. He's my good longtime friend and cut my hair for a long time as well. Got the CBD in it. $15 a pop. Giant jug. I mean, this is going to last me a year.
See if you can hook something up because I need something for the beard. I ran out of Cremo.
So it's beard oil, conditioner, lotion. It hydrates, it washes, it does all of that stuff for your beard, and it is great to shave with as well. So I'll get you a bottle of it too. I think we'll have an official sponsorship on the way. This is his first batch of it. He's had it in the works for 2 years. A master barber located out of Baltimore, so it's local. You're supporting, an up and coming entrepreneur. Pre-shave cream, shaving cream, aftershave lotion, facial skin moisturizer, beard and hair conditioner. This stuff just makes everything smooth as fuck. Great labeling, great name, great gift to give someone. It's funny. The labeling's great. The brand obviously is great. So check it out. I'm gonna give a little pump right now. Get a little pump in my beard. It says to do a half a pump for beard conditioning. Give a little live rub in here.
A live rub in. Who would have thought that? Tonight?
Robert Kraft, eat your heart out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that wasn't technically live. That was taped, and the tape never got out. Thank you to everyone.
Shout out to that and the Lost Des Bryant tapes.
Yeah, shout out to Shefty.
Shout out to Shefty. Shout out to JPP's hand. RIP to that finger. Screw you, Shefty, for what you did to JPP. Love you, Shefty, but that was mean.
Yeah.
Hour 45. We had a long one. Boys didn't record on Tuesday, so I think me and you needed to hang out a little bit. Thank you guys for hanging out with us.
Yeah, we did. It was good to take just a little brief hiatus. We do that every once in a while, and I think it was fitting with the fact that there was no Ravens-related stuff going on. So yeah, it was good to hop in here and riff with you for almost 2 hours here. And I liked your literal ambush marketing there at the end. I was not expecting that, but if you can lock down a deal there, I'm all the way in on it. So
absolutely. Again, smoothafshaving.com. They have a CBD one, lavender, and I'm not sure of the other flavor, but got 2 options there, more on the way, and it's $15, man. Does it all. So ambush marketing, ambush synth from. Can I get a synth for Seinfeld synth just to get us out of here? I just want to hear it. That's all I needed.
Perfect. Well, I can get us out of here then. Thank you, everyone, for listening to, like we said, a little bit of an extra long episode here, but it was definitely worth it. Get in here, talk some draft, talk some free agency, talk everything. It was great. So thanks for everyone who submitted user questions for the mailbag. It's always good to open the mailbag up. We're doing it a little fewer and further between, which I think is really good. It kind of lets it air out a little bit, and this was certainly a good one. So thanks for all your help and involvement in that, you the great listeners. And with that, going to go ahead and get us out of here. Feel free to follow us on social media if you liked what you heard. You can find the show at Podcast Beatdown on Twitter. I am at Jake Luke on Twitter. That's LOUQUE. Spencer is at Ravens 4 dummies. That's the number 4 in the middle there. Check out BaltimoreBeatdown.com for all our great written content and all the great written content of the great writers that we have there. Josh, Justin, Frank on the editing team, Voss. Everyone's just all bangers all the time.
All bangers all the time. Shout out Kyle. Shout out Josh. Shout out Voss. Shout out everybody.
Go Joe. Go everybody. So thank you guys for listening. You have yourselves a great weekend, and we'll talk again soon. And like we said with the scheduling, who knows exactly when it's going to come out. It's going to be a little more fluid, but we're going to stick with 2 episodes a week. So
once we get into March, we'll have the Beatdown big board coming through. So we'll be really busting in that draft coverage, especially post free agency. So stay tuned for that. We'll get some guests up in here to talk Ravens offseason, to talk draft, Senior Bowl content on the way as well. So excited for all that stuff. Excited for you guys. Excited for us. Thank you for hanging out with us, and we love you guys.
We do. It's going to be bussin'.
See ya.
Arrivederci.
Where is the wise man? Where is the scholar? Where is the philosopher of this age? Get down! Baltimore!
What are they getting? Everything out of me. They gonna get a Super Bowl out of me.